Hey, it's Allie Bloyd. Today's question is, how much should I spend on my Facebook and Instagram ads? If you find this video to be interesting or helpful, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you never miss anything new. How much should I spend on Facebook and Instagram ads? This is a pretty complex question, so I wouldn't say there's just one sentence answer, but I'm going to walk you through the thought process, the questions you should be asking yourself, and the way to identify how much you personally should be spending on Facebook and Instagram ads. So I encourage everyone to really consider what they are able to spend on a monthly basis versus what they will spend on their initial testing campaigns as two separate budgets. Because when you are first launching a Facebook or Instagram ad campaign, there are a lot of variables that you are going to need to test. Those tests are going to cost money, and not all of those ads, ad sets, or even campaigns will stay on. So you are trying to weed out the losers and keep those winners, and those winners will eventually be what you spend the money on moving forward. You will also continue to test as time goes on, but it will be at a much lower scale, but it should still be done consistently. So with a testing campaign, I recommend that you are willing to spend at least $2,000 on that testing campaign. The reason being is that you are going to have, as I just mentioned, a lot of different ad sets, a lot of different audiences that are being tested, copy variations, creative variations, maybe even objectives, and you want to make sure that you are not limiting any of those by really stifling their potential results before you even begin by not giving each one enough budget. So every single ad should be given enough budget per day to generate at least one conversion, whatever that conversion is that you are looking for from these campaigns. So that's the first thing you really want to look for. The question is, how much should one conversion cost? Well, that is going to be different for everyone. It's also going to be different for businesses, even if they're in the exact same industry or niche, because it depends on their internal numbers. This is something that I can't stress enough. You have to be tracking your internal business KPIs in order to know what you can really afford to spend per conversion or to acquire a new customer. That customer acquisition cost is the most important thing, because as long as you are acquiring customers underneath your target customer acquisition cost, you can continue to spend on those ads. But most people simply do not know what their current customer acquisition cost is or what an ideal customer acquisition cost should be for them. That comes down to really knowing the other KPIs in your business. So if I gave two businesses 100 leads, each one of those businesses is going to close a different number of those leads. So let's say I was paid $1,000 for 100 leads. I gave them to each business. So each business spent $1,000 on the same list or number of leads, the same quality of leads. If one person is able to close 30 of those leads and one person is able to close 15, the one who is able to close 30 is able to generate a lot more revenue from that $1,000 investment. So their ability to make a higher return on ad spend is a lot greater. The business that only closes 15, they might still be within a healthy range where they could continue buying 100 leads, closing 15 on repeat consistently and still make great money. However, the business who closes 30 is going to be able to spend a lot more money because they're making a lot of money. Let's say each one of those businesses sells a $1,000 product or service. So one made 30,000 off of 1,000, one made 15,000 off of 1,000. The one who made 30 now has extra money to put back into their ads. They're able to test more. They're able to create new offers that they can launch. So they're going to be in a much better position. So you need to know what your conversion rates are from a lead or an appointment to a sale. You also need to know what your conversion rate is from a lead to an appointment. Because of those 100 leads, let's say that only 70 of them schedule appointments, or let's say only 50 of them schedule appointments. Well, that's a 50% lead to appointment conversion rate. So that is a really good lead to appointment conversion rate. If the other business was only able to get 30 of those leads to appointments, they've got a 30% lead to conversion rate. So if they closed 15 of that 30, that's a 50% close rate. So that's a really good number. However, the other metric is making it harder for them to make more money because, yes, they can close at 50%, but if they don't get enough people to the calendar, they're not able to have the opportunity to close. So this is not going to be the same number for every business, not even in the same industry. It's also going to vary a little bit based on the service you're actually advertising. I would highly recommend you consider your offer because you want to focus your offer around something that you know is going to have a high revenue potential. Sometimes that's still a gated content offer or a loss leader offer. It doesn't mean you have to promote a really expensive thing in your ads, but you need to understand the structure of your offers and how one offer leads them to another. So that's what we have funnels for, to present different offers in the right order to the right person at the right time to allow them to buy more, which is going to increase the customer value for each transaction. So if you have a higher value per transaction, you can also afford to spend more. Your customer lifetime value of that customer also makes a difference. If you're able to keep a customer a lot longer than other people, you're going to make a lot more money from them, which means that each sale is worth more to you, so you can spend more for it. So knowing those numbers is the most critical aspect of really knowing what you can afford to spend. But like I mentioned, we want to have at bare minimum $2,000 for testing. If you can spend up to $5,000 to do aggressive testing, it's going to be well worth it. That doesn't mean you're blowing that $5,000 budget. It means that not all of the $5,000 budget is going to produce the ads that will continue to run, but you should be able to make your money back at minimum from the results produced on that testing campaign if you do it the right way. Even if you don't do it the right way, the data gained from that is invaluable and you should still be generating leads and sales. So even if you're not breaking even on that in the short term, you can still reactivate those people. You can still sell more to them over time. There are a lot of different ways to make your money back from that initial testing group, even if you don't close them in a 1 week time period. So in terms of the time frames, we're going to talk about that in the next question, but that is really what I want to encourage you to think about with your ad budget. So with your initial testing period, as I mentioned, kind of keeping that separate, once you have that information and you know I can spend X amount of dollars and acquire a customer that's worth X amount of dollars, your monthly budget is then going to be determined by what you find, because as I mentioned, if you're getting that money back and you're making a lot more, or at least you know what that target customer acquisition cost is, how much those customers are worth to you, what your conversion rate is in several different stages, you can then say, all right, I want to make X amount of money per month, and I know if I spend this much money on ads based on those KPIs, I'm going to be able to achieve my goal. So that's really where we create this predictable selling system. I can put $1 in and get $3 out at minimum. So we want something that is consistent and predictable that allows us to simply dial up our ad budget in order to make the money that we want to make. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to my channel, like this video, or comment if you have questions. Thanks for watching.